Um, are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. The technical difficulties. I think I am over it. So let's recite together. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vibhudhatma kartaham idi manyade prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaram idi manyade prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham idi manyade. Please recite if you would be. One Prabhuji and one Madaji.
Prakrite kriyamanyani
Prakrite kriyamanani
gune karmani sarvasha
gunai karmani sarvashaha
ahankara vimudatma
ahankara vimudhatma
kartamamiti manyate.
kartanam iti manyate. Mataji.
Prakrute kriyamanani
Prakrite kriyamanani
gune karmani sarvashah
gunai karmani sarvashaha
ahankara vimudhatma
ahankara vimudhatma
kartaham iti manyate.
kartaham iti manyate.
Prakriti kriyamanani gune
Prakriti kriyamanani
gune karmani sarvasha
gunai karmani sarvashaha
ahankar vimudatma
ahankara vimudhatma
karta iti manyate.
kartaham iti manyate. So we'll go word, let's see, word by word meaning. I put it somewhere. This one. Let me take the other one. Yeah. So word by word meaning. Prakriti. Let's go ahead. Repeat after me.
Prakriti.
Of material nature.
Of material
nature.
Kriyamanani. Being done.
Being done.
Gunai. By the modes.
By the
modes.
Karmani.
Karmani.
Activities.
Activities.
Sarvashaha. All kinds of.
all kinds of
Ahankara Vimudha,
ahankar,
bewildered by false ego.
bewildered by false ego,
Atma,
atma,
the spirit soul.
the spirit soul,
Karta,
karta,
doer.
doer,
Aham,
aham,
I.
I,
Idi,
iti,
thus.
thus,
Manyade,
manyate,
he thinks.
he thinks.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Purport. Two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness, working on the same level, may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptom of his nescience. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is the creation of material nature under the order of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as such, his bodily and mental activities should be engaged in the service of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. The ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Rishikesha, or the master of the senses of the material body. For due to his long misuse of senses and sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with the Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salagaya Chakshurunmilidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stavidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadabhayam Dadadi Supadandigam Vandegam Shri Gurum Shri Udapadagammalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathanidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sahidam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalidam Shri Vishakhanidamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dhina Bandhu Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Padidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Sahana Vavadu Sahanau Bhunaktum Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvi Namadidamastu Ma Vidushavahe Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees, for joining today. So today we are going to see the 27th verse, which is mainly pointing out the influence of false ego. And then because of the false ego, the activity the living entity performs, he thinks that he is the doer. But actually, in actuality, it is carried out by the three modes of material nature. So today we'll see the false ego, the doer, and the modes of material nature. So here we can see in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is very much emphasizing on the person, on the false ego. And because of that, he is completely carried out by the false ego. He thinks that he is completely performing his activities, and he does not even understand, what is his platform. So in the Bhagavad Gita, it is very nicely pictorially represented. If you go into the Bhagavad Gita, there is a plate which is very nicely mentioned the three modes of material nature, and which is because of the false ego, and all these are actually arised. This even three modes of material nature is arised from the false ego originally. So we'll see that what is false ego. Before that, you can have this in a picture how this all the living entities in this world is bound by these modes of three modes of material nature. So here it is. You can see that the three girls, and they are considered as the material nature. Prakriti. Prakriti is a feminine aspect. So this Prakriti, this material nature, is actually is with a rope. So that's what is the guna. Guna is considered as the quality of material nature is called as guna. With guna, that means there is triguna, there is mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. Sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna. Everybody is bound by these three gunas. So there are these three girls represents that the three gunas or the divisions of this material nature or the modes of material nature. So every living entity is bound by it. One is actually in a mode of goodness, maybe other is on the mode of ignorance. So it is mentioned that the same verse is mentioned that bewildered by the influence of false ego, think himself the doer of activities that are actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. So this prakriti, these modes of material nature, is actually bound by it with qualities. That's why it's known as guna, triguna. Sattva guna, there is a good quality. Then there is a passion, that is rajo guna, always rajasic, that means so much of attachments and endeavors and all there in the rajo guna. Then tamo guna, that's an ignorance. So most of the people, 99% of the people in this world, maybe more than that, is pretty much under the influence of this modes of material nature. Then you may ask the question, who is free from it? So we'll see that later. So if you look at this, here it is mentioned that in the Bhagavad Gita, illusion by the material nature, the living entity identifies with the false ego. So it is known as, we many times we heard that illusion or maya. So in another nature or another way that we can see that this material nature is temporary and which is illusion, which is full of illusion or maya. Maya, the word itself known as, the literal meaning of maya means that which is not. So this prakriti consists of this modes of material nature. It is in the Bhagavad Gita 7.14. Krishna says that Devi Yasha Gunamai Mamamaya Durataya. These three modes of material nature consist of my energy. So also generally it is known as this material energy is known as apara prakriti, or there is a para prakriti, there is a superior nature. Then there is an apara prakriti, that is an inferior nature of the Supreme Lord. So this material nature is consist of this, belongs to the apara prakriti of the Supreme Lord. And mainly the another the feature of this prakriti, apara prakriti, or this material nature, it is actually considered as maya or maya shakti. Maya shakti means the temporary potency, which is it can bewilder. So which bewilders every living entity in this world. So we think that sometimes in the desert, right? We see that if it is a scorching heat there, if you look at that, so we see that there is a water, but it's a mirage. It's a mirage. If you go to desert, we can, if it is a scorching heat there, we can see that it's a mirage. So we feel that there is a water, but actually it's a mirage. So in this material nature, this influence is there. So we feel, so that's why, because of this illusion that we have these limitations, we have, we see things, we don't see things properly. Just for an example of this one, it's in the desert, we see the mirage, water as a mirage. So like that, so many things, because of the optical illusion, sometimes we hear half of it, then we understand it's different. This all this part of this material nature. So basically, it's an influence of this illusion or this Maya. So illusioned by the material nature, the living entity identifies with the false ego. False ego means there are two ego. One is a real ego, that is our original identity, and the second one is known as false ego. In Sanskrit, this false ego is known as ahangara. That's why this word self, ahangara vibodhatma prakriti kriyamanani, right? Ahangara vimodhata kartaham idi manyate. So by the false ego, the living entity thinks that I am the doer. Kartaham, karta aham. I am the doer. Aham, kartaham, idi manyate, that I am the doer. How? Why? Because of we all have this false ego, illusioned by false ego. As long as we are in this material world, we are illusioned by this material nature. That's called Maya. And then false ego, then it's become our ego, the real ego become false ego. Then in every aspect of our life, every sphere of our life, we feel that, we think that I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the creator, I am the maintainer. So everybody thinks that, okay, I need the lordship on everything in this material world. So everybody is loaded over this material nature. So this called false ego, ahankara. So in so many ways we can see that even in our behavior, even in our speech, even in our attitude, even in our thinking, even in our willing, and even in our feeling, everything is connected with this false ego, ahankar. Nobody is free from it. Even Brahma, even it's mentioned that, we will see that later. So then this ahankara is the primary cause of the bondage in this material world. So this entrapped by the material body, he once identifies with the bodily relationship, forgetting his own identity as a spirit soul. So that is our real ego, dear devotees. Our real ego, that we are part and parcel of that Supreme Lord. But we forget that. Why we forget? Because of the false ego. So then the false ego associated with the different modes of nature, and the senses become attached to the material nature. So this false ego, so everything else, if you look at this Srimad Bhagavatam, this false ego is the root cause of even the creations of this material world. Even the Prakriti and Pradhan, and just all arise from these concepts of false ego. That means the moment we think I, that means the consciousness just influenced that with this I concepts. Actually, yes, we are independent, or we are part and parcel of the Lord. Lord is independent. So we have that nature of independency, but the real relationship is that since we are part and parcel of that Supreme Lord, we are not independent, but we think we are independent. So then that independency comes into the consciousness, that's called false ego. That means the moment we think that way, we separate from the Supreme Lord. That means now we have an identity. That's why we got an identity here in this material world with 8.4 million species of identity. But otherwise, we have real identity, or we have a Swarup, we have our own truth, original spiritual form that is same as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that is 400 Vishnu forms, and the identity of that same as the Supreme Lord, that is Sat, Chit, and Anand. Sat is eternity, Chit is full of potency, and Ananda, the full of bliss. Same, same form, same feature as the Supreme Lord, and same characteristics of the Supreme Lord, same qualities of the Supreme Lord. And then, it's mentioned that we are very much equal to the qualities of the Supreme Lord. That's our real identity. So then what happens, everything starts from the false ego. The moment the living entity started to think that, I need to enjoy separately from Krishna, or why Krishna is separate, Krishna is enjoying separately, so why can't I do that? But that is not our constitution. So, but we think that because of we are the part and parcel, we have that independent nature. Because of that independent nature, we think that but that is not right. That's not correct. But if it thinks that way, so it's been created a separate world, separate inferior nature. So it shows that. So this world itself is consists of an inferior nature, but not the superior nature. So inferior nature has its own nature, right? Its own qualities. That's what is we are going through in this world. So here we can see that in this next slide. So Krishna, the Supreme Lord, said that Maya Dakshana Prakriti Suyade Sacharacharam Hedunane Kaunteya Jagat Vivari Vartade. The material nature, which is one of my energy, is working under my directions. Right. Everything under the control, under the direction of the Supreme Lord. O son of Kundi, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So as long as this living entities thinks that way, they have that intrinsic false ego. False, it's not real. That's why it says false ego or ahangar. That means it's a real Sanskrit word. That's the real, it gives the real meaning of ahangar. Aham means I. Ahangar means that always that self-centered or self-centered, everything surrounded by I. Then as long as then we will be here in this material world. So here we can see that the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. So we can see that. And how it is that the constant companion and troublemaker. And it is mentioned that, I'll come back to this slide later. It is mentioned that yeah, it is mentioned that it is a big pool of ocean, this material world. See, like you can here see that Niagara Falls, right? It's so difficult, actually, if you go, I think many of you must have seen that, the Niagara Falls. So when you go to Niagara Falls nearby, the force, the current and the force is so severe that if anybody even falls into it, it's very difficult to come out. Dear devotees, the material nature is like that. It's so much influenced by it's as mentioned that it is consist of the Lord's energy. So everybody is within this, like everybody is within this great, tremendous, the force of the current of this material energy. And there was an incident that this guy is actually twice fall down into this Niagara Falls, and somehow he got rescued and he saved. And the point I'm trying to make here, that even though we are in this material world, naturally we fall into this material world. It's like an Niagara Falls, like a deep current force is there. We are all fall down into this material pool or the ocean of material pool, the strong current of these three modes. Very difficult to come out. So unless we have a shelter, unless we have a mercy, unless we have somebody rescues us, otherwise it's very difficult to come out of it. So this is the point. So if you fall into the deep current of that one, can you do anything? You cannot do anything. You are just go along with that flow of the current of the force of that water. Dear devotees, the living entities in this world is in that situation. So because of the influence of that force of this modes of material nature or the false ego or this modes of material nature, every living entity is actually just flowing with that tremendous, that's a strong force of that, that material nature. Very difficult to come out. And also the problem of that, when you can see that there is a moth here. So moth with the glittering of this light, with glitterance of the blaze, fire, and that it comes because of that blazing fire, and this it comes and immediately attracted to the fire. Then what happens? Since we see the glittering of this one and we come and attracted to this fire, and then we fall down into that and we die here. You devotees, and this is what it is mentioned here. So when we have this ahankara, then we are in this material world and we think that everything is because of me. But what is really happening? We are falling down into that strong force of that, the material nature. And then we don't, because of our forgetfulness, and because of that, our, strong attachment, because of this strong, potency of this modes of material nature, then we may ask that how we can come out of it. That's where we are coming to this point. So we can see that the problem of this one. So there are this false ego, and then this ahangar. From this ahangar, there are so much of byproducts that we can see here. Lust, ignorance, anger, envy, false prestige, pride, attachment, greed. So many. So see that this material nature, like always, you can see that is a woman there. So woman is represent this material nature or this prakriti, and then this prakriti consists of this modes of material nature, and with this modes of material nature is bound by these three modes. There are three ropes, you can see that, right? So by these three ropes, that's it's mentioned that in the Bhagavad Gita 16th chapter, it is mentioned that Asha Pashas Tadar Bedher Kama Krodha Parayana Ihande Kama Bhogartha Manyayarthena Samchayan. Asha Pashas Tadar Bedher. Asha, these robes, this desires, and it binds us in this material world. Asha Pashas Tadar Bedher Kama Krodha Parayana Ihande Kama Bhogartha Manyayarthena. So people go into so many directions of not understanding that, yes, there is a material nature is in one side, influence of the false ego on the another side, and it creates lots of byproduct, ignorance, anger, envy, false. So the people are suffering in this world with this anarthas that we can see here. So then this is the real nature of that false ego. It's actually separate us. It's actually divides us. Our original nature, it divides us into so many different, other forms. That's why we can see that every person in this world is very unique, and they behave in such a way that is all come from that false ego, that ahangar, and it's actually completely devour us. It's completely influences us and completely binds us and completely takes us into the material pool, or the force of this material energy. So then we can see that, bewildered by the false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demon becomes envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in his own body and in the bodies of the others. And blasphemy is against the religion. So this is the nature, dear devotees. This is the nature. So why it is happening? So we may ask this question, why there are so many different types of the people in this world? The reason for this, the false ego, the ahangar. When there is an ahangar, that means I in the center, then all this, and then we start to blaspheme, we are envious of the Supreme Lord, and because of the false ego, we forget everything, and we completely immersed into this pool of this material energy. That's the modes of nature. We completely, immersed into this. It's very difficult. Then we can see that there was a nice, we can see here, we are already fallen. Srila Prabhupada put that one of in the Desire Tree Krishna. Srila Prabhupada put that we are already fallen. What comes after this is a detail. So it means because of the false ego influence of material nature, we are already fallen, and it's very difficult, and then whatever it is, actually, it's our, it's a detailed part of it. So it says that here, the word kashadi, struggling or grappling hard, is very significant. The conditioned soul is bound up as though shackled by iron chains. He is bound up by the false ego. And the mind is the chief agent which is driving him in this material existence. And I think we all experience the same, right? The false ego is actually bound us, and it binds our mind, our intelligence, our body, everything. It's so much influence of the false ego there. And then we can say that further Krishna says that a person who has given up all desires of the sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. So this is where Krishna is mentioning that how we can come out of it. That's my very the focal point of this class. So let's go back, and there is a wonderful pastimes happen between Arjuna and Hanamanji. So I just wanted to show that. Um, yeah, it's here. So one day, Arjuna, when Arjuna, the Pandavas were on exile, so they went to the various places. They were, going various tirthas and the places, and various pilgrimage, and all over the place. They were just traveling. They were moving from one place to another. So Arjuna came to the place Rameshwaram. So Arjuna knew that in the previous era, previous yuga, the Lord Ram came here. Lord Ram built a wonderful bridge there, and then with the help of all the, Arjuna was thinking like that, with the monkeys and even squirrels, even the small animals, everybody were helping Lord Sri Ram. He built the bridge. So uh, then Arjuna was thinking, why? The Lord Ram was a very great archer. Even in the case of Kara and Dushna came from to fight with Arjuna, there were 14,000 armies. Lord Ram killed them even within an hour with with just bow and arrows, that's shooting them, and killed all of them. Then Lord Rama was a great archer. Why Rama couldn't build a bridge with a strong bridge with arrows? Rama could have done that. With just shoot the arrows, and I could do that. I, created a Sarashaya, an arrow bed for Bhishma Dev, and I, put shoot arrows, and I stop the water. I have so much power that this is the way the pride and false ego comes to the even the great personalities. Even the little bit is there, then this pride and false ego comes to the even the great personalities. So here Arjuna was thinking that way, and Arjuna was just thinking, why Lord couldn't do that? Why Lord took this help from all these insignificant creatures like monkeys and other small living entities? So that time there is a small monkey came there. So we can see that there is a small monkey came here, and this monkey was, this Arjuna was then started to speak to this small monkey, and then uh, this monkey said, you have so much pride in your capability, in your strength, and you are comparing that with the Lord Ram. And, if, Arjuna was saying that if I have this much capability, Lord can do anything, Lord can do anything he wants. So I have so much of this power that even I can show you. And this Arjuna was challenging this small monkey there, and challenging that I can show you. And then this more monkey was saying that, can you show like that? Okay, then I can show you that, this is not true. This is not true, that even if you make a bridge with arrows, I can easily, even if just I go there, and then it will break, and I can, destroy that. So Arjuna was challenging this small monkey. And then Arjuna then, shoot the arrows, and made a bridge with his own ego that, I'm a great archer, I can do anything I want. Then this small monkey was chanting the holy name, and Lord Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. And just after Arjuna built this bridge, Arjuna told to this monkey that, look, here is my bridge. See that? Can you go and see that? You can easily walk over. So this small monkey didn't even get up from there, but just, took his tail and put it on the bridge. As soon as this small monkey put that bridge, tail on the bridge collapsed. Arjuna was shattered. Arjuna was very much bewildered. What is happening? So then Arjuna thought that, oh, I must have made a mistake. It was not so closer each other. So now this time, this Arjuna challenges monkey again. Look, okay, I must have made some mistakes. Let me do this again. Then Arjuna made that bridge in such a way that with that ego that I'm a great archer. So Arjuna made that bridge again with very close each other, very tied to each other. And then this time Arjuna, look at this bridge. And, before that Arjuna said, if it breaks and if you cannot walk, if it doesn't stay, then I would die myself. I would enter into the fire, into the fire. I would kill myself. And this was the Arjuna's confidence and that ego, the pride and all those. And this time, this small monkey get up and just walked over the bridge, and it's collapsed again and couldn't, hold the weight. And Arjuna was so shattered, so bewildered. What is happening here? So Arjuna thought that, what is happening? So I made a pledge, I made a promise that I would die myself. So Arjuna was about to die. That time there is a small boy came there. It's a Brahmin boy came there, appeared on the scene. And then thought that, this Arjuna is going to die. So this third person, this Brahmana came there and told, yes, okay, so you all are, you both are actually did something, you were doing something, but always, unless and until a third person judges over it, and you cannot come to conclusion that, what was right or what was wrong. So that's very, very important that, a third person to judge on it. So then Arjuna got a lifeline here. And then Arjuna said, this Brahman said that, yes, Arjuna can do this again. And then this monkey, you can try again. That let me see what is actually, who is correct. So then we can take a decision accordingly. So this time Arjuna was very much bewildered. Arjuna lost all his hope. Arjuna then, thought about the Lord, and he was praying to the Krishna, oh Lord Krishna, oh Lord Krishna, please save me, oh Lord Krishna. With that, very much of that, the Krishna consciousness, very much thoughtful of the Supreme Lord, and took the shelter of the Supreme Lord, Arjuna made a bridge again. But this time, the small monkey, who was actually now thinking that, who can defeat me? Who can? I already twice actually broke this bridge. And now, this last two times, this monkey was chanting the holy name of Ram. But this time, because of that pride, I have so much of power myself. And then monkey didn't even utter a name even for a minute, for a second, for the name of Ram. With that pride, even this monkey actually now went onto the bridge, but bridge was standing still, and this small monkey couldn't do anything. And this small monkey was jumping up and down on this bridge. It's not breaking. It's so strong like an iron. So this small monkey that could his original original form, and that he grown like anything, like a gigantic big mountain. Still the bridge is not breaking. And Hanuman, this was the Hanuman. This Hanumanji became very much, he's put all his force to break this bridge, but Hanumanji couldn't do that. This time, Hanumanji realized that what is happening. Last two times, I was able to break this, but now there is a third. This Brahmana is here. He has something. This is because of him that this is happening now. And Hanumanji fall down at the lotus feet of this Brahmana boy. This Brahmana took this original form of the Lord. And this is what is, you can see that in the picture. Now, when Hanumanji saw that the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, the form of a Vishnu there, and Hanumanji fall feet at the lotus feet, and also Arjuna also falls at the feet of the lotus feet of the Lord. And then here it is mentioned that, then the Lord was saying to Hanumanji, when you were, selflessly, you were chanting the holy name, you didn't have any pride, you were completely dependent upon the Supreme Lord. And that time, nothing can actually break your confidence, nothing can actually put you down. You were, completely dependent upon the Supreme Lord. That time, the holy name, the Lord was there in the protection for you. But that time, Arjuna was not. Arjuna was just thinking about his own pride, his own capability, his own, the false ego that, I'm a great archer, I can do anything in this world I want. But here, that time, Arjuna just forgot that, and then Arjuna is failed, and then nothing was happening in that case. And then both the time, but the third time when Arjuna was making this bridge, Arjuna was praying to and remembering the Supreme Lord, chanting the holy name, and then the Lord was there to protect Arjuna. That time, Hanumanji was so much ego, with that ego was not able to, remember even to the Supreme Lord. And that time, Hanumanji is failed. So this is a nice story, dear devotees, that it gives lots of wonderful lessons to us. That the moment we forget that the Supreme Lord is the cause of all the causes here in this material world, everything, the creation, the maintenance, and the annihilation, the maintaining, he maintains every moment of our life, dear devotees. But what we think is that, no, it's not like that. Everything is me and myself. Even it is mentioned that the Brahma, even because of the influence of the false ego, even the position of the Brahma is affected. Even the influence of false ego can even affect the Brahma. Even it's affected Shiva, and many times we can see that in the story of Purana. I'm not getting into that. Even they are even affected. Then think about that, our cases here. So it's a small story. Like we know that when Kurukshetra battle is over, and Arjuna and Sri Krishna was on the chariot, and it's over, and now Arjuna has to get down, and then Sri Krishna has to get down, and then Arjuna told Krishna, "Oh Arjuna, oh Lord, that battle is over. As that the battle is over. That as that small pride came into the Arjuna, that okay, now you can get down, oh Lord." Arjuna mentioned to Lord that now you can get down. Krishna said, no, you get down first. You get down first. So then Arjuna got down from the chariot first, and then Krishna also got down from the chariot, and this is a celestial chariot, got down from the chariot. As soon as Krishna got down from the chariot, it immediately burned down to the ashes. So the devotees, they think that everybody thinks that because of my capability, because of my power and the strength and everything happens in this world within me, because of myself, me, and all these things is happening in this world because of me. So, but even Arjuna was also in the mode of that. Yes, of course, the modes of material nature. As long as we are in the jiva in this material world, we have this influence of it. And then Krishna says that as soon as Krishna got down from the chariot, is burned down to the ashes, because of there were loads of celestial special weapons were actually hit on this chariot, and the power of those weapons was so tremendous that even one cannot even imagine that even just by that special arrows, that all celestial weapons and arrows, if hit on anybody, it can burn down to the ashes. But just because of the presence of the Lord Sri Krishna on the chariot, nothing was happening, dear devotees. This is exactly a good lesson for us. Is Krishna is living in our heart as a Paramatma, everything happens so beautifully. Everything happens so beautifully when, because of Paramatma, Jivatma is acting, Jivatma is doing things, Jivatma is thinking, feeling, and feeling everything because of the Paramatma. Because of the Paramatma that we have identity, because of the Paramatma we have the activities, because of the Paramatma we have the form, we have the nature, we have the behavior, we have the attitude, everything is there. But the problem is that the moment we forget, then we are influenced by the modes of material nature. That's why we are so many types of living entities, varieties of living entities. Why? Because of we forget. But Lord never leaves us, but we left the Supreme Lord far long ago. Long ago, but Lord never leaves us. Lord sitting in our heart and providing us everything what we think about. So it's exactly like that. The moment Lord is not there in this world won't be even there. Everything is burnt to ashes and nothing won't be there. But as long as Lord and his potency is here in this world, everything happens. But the point is here, devotees, because of the problem of the forgetfulness, this false ego, we are completely forgetting the Supreme Lord. Then we influenced by this modes of material nature. That's the point I wanted to mention here. So then let's come to the conclusion of this verse. Then how we can actually come out of it. And it's so beautiful that the Lord is mentioning, yeah. Just let me get into the slide. Yeah. So this is where a person who has given up all desires for sense gratification, who lives free from desires, who has given up all sense of proprietorship and is devoid of false ego, he alone can attain real peace. And here it is mentioned further, unless, it is very, very important, dear devotees, unless we free from false, our self false ego, we cannot break the bondage of this material world. So that's one thing which is binding us in this material world. And in every activity, to put ourselves in it. So everything, ours, myself, my family, mine, me, myself, everything we put. There was a children's, what is called, movie called Finding Nemo. And there was one bird, actually Arjuna's, this little fish came out. I think many of you must have seen that when I was watching with my children when they were very small, and it struck to me very much. And then this Nemo was from the water, came out on the land. Then lots of these birds came, and you know what they were speaking about? Mine, 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 mine. Everybody was coming, mine, 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 mine. So this was representing the nature of the living entities in this world. Everybody is greedy. Everybody is greedy. Lord said that. The Lord fulfill all their needs. Lord definitely fulfill all their needs, but not the greed. But everybody is after the greed in this material world. So it is mentioned that if you spread lots of grains on the ground, or if you put sacks of grains on the ground, the birds will come and they will eat whatever their stomach, whatever their, to quench their, hunger, and they just eat and they just go away. But human is not like that. Human will come and grab everything with that selfishness and grab away and go away. And that's what is, dear devotees, we can see in this material world. And this is what it is. So it is mentioned that one who does not devoid, but who is kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor, who is free from false ego and equal both in happiness and distress, who is always satisfied and engaged in devotional service with determination, and whose mind and intelligence are in agreement with me, he is very dear to me. So this is where Krishna is saying that Devi Yesha Gunamai Mamaya Duridaya Mam Eve Prabandhyante Mayam Edam Tarantite. Only by Mam Eve Prabandhyante, only by worshipping, remembering me, worshipping me, Mam Eve, one who take the shelter of the Supreme Lord, unless one who take the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, dear devotees, is very difficult to overcome this material energy. So this words itself that, due to the influence of the false ego, we think that we are doer, but it's carried out by the modes of material nature. So we are actually, by the influence of this material nature, under the influence of false ego, the doer. We think that we are the doer, we are everything, we are the proprietor. This is all comes from the false ego, dear devotees. So when we have this one, we think that we are the doer. So in the last verse, in the previous verse, it was mentioned that all these activities which is not related to the Supreme Lord is actually put us into this pool of this material pool. But all these prescribed duties mentioned, the sakama karma or the nishkama karma, which is all that we are doing, dear devotees, to take us gradually to the Krishna consciousness. So we are systematically studying this part so that we can gradually elevate, understand this fact, understand this transcendental knowledge, so that we can apply in it our life, that gradually we hear Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. By this 9 process of devotional service, we can come out of this, our mode of ignorance, we can come out of our mode of passion, even we can come out of these modes of goodness, we can transcend these modes. That's what is this Krishna conscious movement. That's what is this, dear devotees, this activities of devotional service to transcend these modes of material nature, so that we can gradually. So it's very, very important that we understand this fact, especially, in this loving devotional service in the age of Kali is the best and the foremost of that we can come out of these modes of material nature and the false ego, that Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalau Nasteva, 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 Gadara Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Idisho Dashtagam Nam, Kaligal Marshanashinam, Nada Paradaro, Paya Sarva Vedesha Drishyade. This 16 syllables of the holy name, Hare Krishna Mahamandra, Idisho Dashtagam Nam, Kaligal Marshanashinam, all these anarthas, that as I mentioned earlier, all these anarthas can be eradicated from this, all anarthas, and we can come out from our false ego. And that's why it is known as mantra. Manana tranane idi mantra. Only way that mantra can only that overcome. So mind is, they strongly influence our mind. The false ego strongly influence our mind. And with that help of the mind, that we are completely immersed in everywhere, dear devotees. And we are falling down and further. That's as Srila Prabhupada, we already fall down. We are fall down with this material form. Everything else is a detail. So dear devotees, it is very, very important that only by that mantra, manana trana, only by chanting the holy name, dear devotees, that we can overcome our mind. And that many devotees experience this in this life. Anything else doesn't affect much, but it starts from that chanting, hearing and remembering and chanting, right? Hearing and chanting the holy name of the soul. So we can overcome, we can surpass these three modes of material nature, which influence our mind so much. That arises from the influence of the false ego. But by the process of chanting the holy name, dear devotees, we can overcome this. And this is guaranteed. And this is to establish these principles, this truth, this Mahat Tattva, these great principles, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, descended in this world and established this Yuga Dharma, chanting of the holy name in this. And one who chants this holy name sincerely and purely, guaranteed, there's no doubt that they all can attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. There is no doubt. So with this note, I would end here. Thank you so much for being there and listening this. It's wonderful, dear devotees, that to understand the transcendental truth. Thank you so much. I hope I made some sense today. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. So any reflections, anything you would like to add, any comments, any questions? Maybe I may be going here and there, but yeah. Hare Krishna. Anybody has anything to add? Any concern? Nothing? No comments? Or it is because of this, everything is cleared? Everything is completely perfect?
Nice class, Prabhu. Nice class.
Thank you. Any questions, any comments?
Prabhu, if nobody has a question, I could ask one perhaps.
Please.
Sometime back we had discussed about this karma.
Yeah.
And its effect, action, reaction. Yeah. And then also that analogy of the autonomous car, which tied into today's class of we think we are the doer, but actually we are not the doer, it's just the desire.
Correct.
So my question is, in Kali Yuga, for having thoughts or desires, you are not punished. However, if you have Krishna conscious thoughts and desires, you accrue the spiritual credits. So for example, if you think of building a temple for Vishnu, you get the credit. Yep. But if you have a negative thought, until unless it's not performed, then there is no karma incurred. So how is it that if material energy, the three modes are acting and we are not the doer, then where's the question of karma? Because thoughts should be forgiven. thoughts are forgiven, rather. There's
Okay,
no
so
karma.
okay, so your point is that in this Kali Yuga, the thoughts are forgiven, but the activities are accountable. But in the actual reality, we are not the doer. We are just our desire. Because of our desire, things are happening. So where is the accountability on how where this karma, these activities, how we are accountable for our activities? Wonderful question. You thought very deep. Wow. Yes, yes. See, we are obviously we are not the doer. We all can desire, and that's our modes, because of we are influenced by the mode of ignorance, the passion, and the goodness, and all. We are flowing in that current. Then we have a desire, right? Our desire in this age of Kali does not have any effect. Yes, okay, when we are flowing through this current, this strong force, we have a potency, we have a potency to think about, okay, to come out of it. So then when we have a thought to come out of it, as Krishna says that, if you think one step, if you put one step, I will put 100 steps. So Krishna would definitely help to that to come out of it, right? So then now the question is that, okay, when we do this one, then we do the karma our own, our things. So, but at the same time, we are also spirit soul. We have that the potency of that, to understand, or many ways that we have this knowledge. Is Chaitya Guru is within himself, that he is giving this transcendental knowledge that we have to come out of it. But what we do actually instead, yes, we thought may not be, sinful, but because of that desire, it's actually pulls you into the wrong activities, because that desire itself is not, sinful, but that thoughts creates that impetus. That thoughts creates that sinful, activity. So it's called come from that false ego, that comes from that desire of it, that leads to the activity. So that karma, that we are punishable for that.
Can you repeat again, Prabhu? I'm sorry, I didn't quite get it. So the thoughts are the impetus, which is understandable.
Understandable. Yes, thoughts are impetus. Thoughts is the seed.
By the three mode, correct?
Yeah, the thoughts are the seeds, and the thoughts also at the same time, we are not in the sense that we are living entities, and Lord is always there in the Chaitya Guru. Lord is actually always have this given this knowledge, right? And has this knowledge, and it is there. This is the law of the nature. And that is the one living entity, that living entities of the human's duty to understand these laws of the nature of the prescribed duties. So that's why we are taking as a human. Yes, only human has the karma. No other living entities has the karma. Everybody is in the flow of that material nature. Why we have the human body? Because of we are our elevation, our consciousness is elevated to the certain level that he can understand some extent what is right and what is wrong. And Lord gave that potential to that living entity. Now, with that, even though then with that, his false ego, his selfish interest, and he completely forgot that. He completely forgot that he's a human. And then what happens? Then he has this desire of all this to enjoy. And that leads to, that's why, Krishna says that, that leads to all these anarthas, right? While thinking of, while contemplating the object of senses, right? Dayade vishayan pumsas sangaste shubhajayade sangastangaye kama kama krodha vijayade krodha samadhi bhango क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोह स्मृति विभ्रमा बुद्धि नाशो pranakshati. The all chains are actually mentioned here. See that? Because which leads you to that. Yes, thoughtful are not sinful, but that leads you to all this, buddhi nasha, pranakshati, all these things. Why? Because of, even though he is a human, right? Even though he is a human, his identity is a human, and he knows everything else, dear devotees. He knows everything else. He does everything else, but he pretend that that I don't know anything, because of he put himself into that mode of that I want to enjoy. Who is God? He starts to ask, who is God? We have eyes, we have nose, but still we completely, kind of forgetting. Even though tons of opportunities there, we completely forgetting and put ourselves in that mode. And then we start to, thinking in such a way that then that leads to the activity. Then living entities are punishable for that. Living
Beautiful.
entities are punishable.
Perfect. So it's basically misuse of my free will. I have the opportunity given by Krishna in this human life,
Yep.
but I don't care about it. I misuse my free will.
Exactly.
And then from there, the whole story starts.
Yes, it's true, right? It's a science. And when you misuse the free will, and the Lord given you the free will, and if you don't properly utilize, go back to animal. Why you need this free will? Go back to animal. That's it. This is the law of nature. We cannot say that I don't know this law, but it is punishable.
Wonderful, Prabhu. Beautiful answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful question. It's a very nice question. Yes, very nice.
Hare Krishna, Ramji.
Hare Krishna.
On the same note,
yeah,
I wanted to also know that since, okay, humans have the free will and they practice the free will, and again, if it's practice in a wrong action, you get to a different species, or you get punished accordingly. My question to you is, if a person practices a free will, and would it matter the degree of punishment if he is in the mode of goodness versus the mode of ignorance, living his life? I mean, if I do something after getting, if I do something in ignorance and I don't have the knowledge of good or bad, versus if I do something which, say, a spiritual master, I am learning something, and then I do something, wouldn't that be on a different level, or would that be the same?
Yes, that's a different level. You're right. See that when one who approaches a spiritual master, the spiritual master accepts you, that means spiritual master is accepting all your karmas as well, not just yourself. That's why many times after the initiation, spiritual master gets into sickness. Why? They are accepting all these karmas. And this initiation, or you're accepting a spiritual master, means you have a new birth. Now here in this new birth, your spiritual master is your father, and the scriptures or the Vedas are your mother, and you have a new birth. That means your karma is being completely, burned away. But devotees, it's in this world, by the influence, by this forgetfulness, we again involve again, then we acquire karma again. But the fact is that, yes, it's different. Modes of goodness, when you are mode of goodness, yes, the degree of punishment is, less compared to mode of ignorance. The mode of people are in the mode of ignorance. That's where the most abominable. They go to the lower planetary system. Those who are in the mode of passion, they live again on this planet Earth. They get an opportunity to come back as a human again. Those who are in the mode of goodness go to the heavenly planets, higher planetary systems. But its difference is that mode of goodness, you are both bound by this material world. Brahma bhuvaner loker punaravartin Arjuna mamu bedidu kaundeya punar janma navidyade. Krishna says that in the 10th chapter, 9th chapter. Brahma bhuvaner loker punaravartin Arjuna. Even from the Brahma, the planet, to the Brahma, to the lower planetary system, Brahma bhuvaner loker punaravartin Arjuna. There is a repeated birth and death. And mamupetidu kaundeya, one who came to me, punar janma na vidyade. That means, it is from top planet to the bottom. Everybody has to take this birth. The difference is Brahma lives in 311 trillion years, but in the lower planetary system, maybe the lifespan is very less, right? The lifespan is very, very less. So only the difference that everybody has to go through this, influenced by this modes of material nature, influenced by the false ego. Everybody is bound to this material world by this false ego or ahangar. Yes, punishable and that is various. Yes, you may go to heavenly planets, even Brahma Loka, but the suffering and the punishable reactions may be less compared to the lower planetary system. But it's if you the going high, that's called Purogati, going higher planetary, the journey, it's conducive for Krishna consciousness more. There is a Tapaloka. In the Tapaloka, living entities are always engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, Tapaloka. And then there is Janaloka, great personalities. Maharloka, Mahat, the great personalities. And Satyaloka, it's full of truth. But yes, but still, even Brahma, has to die by the, and take birth again. So it is there. Yes. Then when you approach a spiritual master, why tad vidhi pranipadena pariprashnena seveya upadekshandiya jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina, one who approaches the spiritual master by the mere and menial service attitude and inquire the spiritual master about the transcendental truth, and he can deliver you. And Srila says that tad vidhi pranipadena pariprashnena seveya upadekshandiya jnanam, the Lord spiritual master can deliver you from these clutches of this material world, this bondage. Why? Because the spiritual master has seen the truth. Upadeshandiye jnanam jnaninas tattva darshinaha, the great principle that tattva means this transcendental truth. The spiritual master has been seen the truth. He can deliver you from this. So taking an initiation, approaching a spiritual master means, it's as good as, you are taking the shelter of the Supreme Lord. And spiritual master can deliver you. That is, the scriptures mentioned. So it's different. Yes, of course. That's why this Krishna conscious Srila Prabhupada was so much efforts and, endeavors that put together that this wonderful system of, spiritual master and disciples and all engaging the loving devotional service of the Lord this way. And, devotees can go back to the God spiritual world. And one time Srila Prabhupada said that I do have a back door. I do have a back door. Those who follow this holy name and for regulative principles and associate with the devotees, I have a back door. I can take you through the back door to the spiritual world. So that much is the powerful word of a pure devotee of Krishna. This Shakti, Srila Prabhupada is considered as a Shakti Avesh Avatar, empowered living entity in the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada is considered Senapati Bhakta. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned that this my Senapati will be coming and lead all of you. And that Senapati is Srila Prabhupada. 500 years ago, it's mentioned Senapati. That Senapati, we can see that in this world. And it's wonderful. It's a fact. And this is the truth. And this is the true science, dear devotees. Thank you so much. Is it answered your question, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhuji, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Okay. So let's